In the chamber this week, we're talking about the history of winter solstice celebrations, both ancient and modern, the history of this important time, where some common Christmas traditions came from. We also talk about some of our favorite holiday traditions and specials, and ask the important question about what truly makes a Christmas movie. This week, Cody and Joe fight to save the sleepy holiday town from the evil corporate overlords. Will they be able to rally the town and save that holiday spirit? Find out in this week's episode of Fandom Roulette. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
Ding dong, Christmas week 2.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so beautiful. There's tinsel everywhere again.
I think this was the same reaction I had last time, now that I'm thinking about this.
And ornaments, and there's reindeers and stuff. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette, a podcast where we usually deep dive into or shallow dive, or dive, into a myriad of nerdy things, including history, video games, RPGs, and whatever other nerdy things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But because it's that beautiful month of December, we're talking about the history of the holiday season a little bit today. Yeah, and it's going to be fun. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. Not as much emphasis on video games or RPG, but we're going to have a lot of fun still. Right, Cody?
Right.
What nerdy stuff have you been up to this week?
I've been smashing people.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. I've
your
actually
brothers?
yes.
Brothers?
I've been smashing my brothers as we become ultimate.
Oh my God! Really?
Yes.
I'd watch that anime, man.
Yeah, that's just an anime of me beating up my non-existent brothers.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything about that.
I mean, oops. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Smash Ultimate. I'm still unlocking all the characters because you have to unlock characters this time, which I actually really enjoyed.
Okay.
As it was such a neat. I kind of miss the old, like the very old way, because like on the N64, like there were certain requirements that you had to meet before, Ness and Jigglypuff would show up. Now it's kind of like if you play for X amount of time in any mode, like a character will show up and you got to beat them, and that's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that takes, there's so many characters now that I'm not even through the new ones yet.
You know who it's not going to be?
Huh.
It's not going to be Waluigi.
Oh, I'm actually kind of convinced that they're going to release him as a new character. I just found out. So they've announced that they're releasing 5 DLC characters.
Okay.
And so they've announced 2. The first one is PD Piranha, like the little piranha guy from the Mario games. Like he's going to be in a pot, like a potted plant.
It's great.
They just announced the first DLC character, which is Joker from Persona 5.
It's a Persona.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's me, an anime boy.
And I'm convinced that one of there's 3 left, at least in this first DLC pack.
Yeah.
I have a feeling one of them's going to be Waluigi.
I think that they're going to break the game to bring it for a week. Everyone's going to get real mad, and then it's going to be Waluigi fixing the game and being like, I'm here now.
I'm here now. So
yeah.
bad.
Waluigi. Wah.
I've also been playing something that I'll briefly talk about in the kind of video game section.
Yeah, sure.
And it's been a hoot.
Is that like a hint? What it is?
Actually, no, not at all.
So it's not about owls. Okay.
No.
Fine.
So what nerdy stuff have you been up to, my dude?
The usual. I've been catching up on a lot of shows that I like. I'm all caught up on The Good Place. I'm all caught up on Legends of Tomorrow, which had just the most buck wild mid-season finale. So
you have to give me the elevator pitch for the mid-season finale.
John Constantine breaks reality so bad that at one point the rest of the Legends of Tomorrow become puppets.
Huh.
Yeah. There you go. um,
That's perfect.
yeah.
That feels very Legends of Tomorrow from what I've heard.
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing too: is they've gone even more buck wild this season because, I'm gonna be talking about this next week a little bit. Spoiler alert, but they were like, man, like, is the time travel stuff starting to run a little dry? And then someone was like, what if we just introduce, like, dark magic? And everyone was like, all right, we're listening. Basically, that show's just like,
Yeah.
do whatever.
I love dark magic and how you don't have to explain shit. Everything just gets fucked up.
Exactly, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we were planning for this week's episode, last week it was very Christmas heavy and very specifically
Correct.
Santa heavy.
Yes. Hey, that's not nice to call Santa heavy.
Oh. Ho, ho, ho. It's okay, Cody. I eat a lot of cookies, you see. Yeah, he's been here all week.
I know you've been there all week, but last week you came to my house and beat me with a bag filled with sticks. I'm a little salty about that.
Ho, ho, ho. That was one of my evil friends. But anyways, so this week we wanted to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about Christmas.
Sure.
But, I wanted to sort of talk about the season in general.
Yeah. All-inclusive holidays.
Exactly. There are, a number of very big, important celebrations throughout the world and throughout various religions, and groups that celebrate celebrations during the winter solstice. And so I wanted to start off by talking just a teensy bit about the winter solstice. So much like the summer solstice that happens in the mid-year, the winter solstice almost always falls around December 25th. And it is the shortest day of the year and the longest night of the year. And then the Earth starts rotating back the other way, and the days start becoming longer. So there are actually quite a lot of celebrations in both the ancient and modern world celebrating this, which, you know what, I'm honestly not super duper surprised about that.
I mean, can we agree that the concept of winter feels very, like, fantasy magical?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the things that, like, happen during the winter, like, everything dies in terms of, like, plants and trees,
Sure.
except for, like, a one.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like if you were to, like, talk to, Meepmorp from the planet 79, like, he'd be like, wait, the fuck? Like, it feels very magical.
Good old 79.
Yeah, Meepmorp from planet 79.
From planet 79, yep. Well, and, the other thing, too, is, if and when, snow starts falling, it kind of makes everything look, it makes the, trees without leaves look almost kind of skeletal. The nights come earlier and longer. And so it's no surprise that we have, throughout many world cultures, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, celebrations that celebrate kind of the turning of the tide and nights becoming shorter and days becoming longer. So I just want to talk about a couple of, not as well-known ones before we start talking about kind of the big three that are at least known in, America.
Right.
We're gonna start off with Yule. So
Yule.
Yes, or Yule time or Yule tide.
The tides of Yule.
Yes. So Yule tide is a festival observed by historic Germanic people, which is a celebration of the wild hunt, the god Odin, and the pagan Modranhit. I probably screwed that up, but it is a pagan celebration that gave us some traditions such as the Yule log, Yule singing, and some other celebrations. And while it had gone away for a while, there is kind of a trend of neo-paganism coming up again in certain parts of Germany, where they start celebrating Yule again. So,
Okay, so I know we usually save the questions for the end,
yeah, sure.
but I have to know, what does Yule mean?
Um, so it is kind of it's a modern English representation of the old English word, which is it is spelled G with a dot over it, E with an accent, O-L, or Geola, or Geoli. But it is a 12-day festival, and indicating the month of Yule, which was the name of this period of time for the Norse and Germanic peoples. So not necessarily the most exciting name of it. It's just kind of like the name of the month of celebration. So I don't know if it has like a direct translation.
Right. Well, I mean, that makes me feel better because I feel like probably a standard white American who just is like, yeah, Yule time.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Well, and I mean, so it's like a 12-day festival, and in some places, we have the 12 days of Christmas, right?
Right. Okay.
So,
I'm starting to understand now. It's like another phrasing for a specific holiday.
and so, yeah, and so they've kind of associated this period with a couple of different ideas. So the first one is something called the Wild Hunt, which was a ghostly procession in the winter sky, which could very well be like the Northern Lights or something like that. That looks kind of ghostly if you think about it, right?
It looks fucking dope.
I know, right? Um, the god Odin, who
Yeah.
apparently in some Germanic folklore leads the Wild Hunt. And
Also, side note, he's a fucking dick in God of War.
he's kind of a dick in mythology in general.
I mean, let's be real here. If we look at a lot of these
Mythologies.
mythologies of like heavy like pantheons, like several different people, there's always at least one like super asshole who's just like, if anything bad happened, it's because this guy was a dick.
Mm-hmm. No,
So.
yeah, it's a common trend, and at some point I want to like maybe do a season about different pantheons.
Oh fuck yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I think it would be cool and fun. I think it's interesting stuff. And then there is one other aspect about it, which is an event that is I'm gonna screw this pronunciation up because hey, I don't speak Old English. Called Modranheat, which is an event that is collective female beings attested by Bede, which is
fuck?
evidence of a fertility event during the Yule period.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, one of the things I read as I was doing research about this, so the one big thing that survives from this, or there's two big things, which is the first one is Yule singing, which has kind of more or less become our modern day concept of caroling, which is designed to spread cheer to your neighbors and also to, get you like a little bit of, neighborly hospitality. So food and drink and things like that. But the big one is the Yule log. So today, the Yule log is a kind of like big old cake that has a beautiful swirl in the middle. But during this time, during the celebration of Yule, what you would do is you would put a gigantic log basically on your fire, and it would start to burn on the hearth. And during some Norse beliefs that the sun was like a gigantic flaming disc in the sky, And so by burning a gigantic log to burn it hotter, it would sort of help the sun become more powerful. So if you think about it, it's on the winter solstice when the days start becoming longer. So burning this big log helps to give the sun power.
Ultimate power.
Ultimate power.
CR20 monster, ready for action. Lair actions and everything.
Yep. That's the one.
Yep, got him.
So the next one I want to talk about is the Dongji Festival.
Neat.
Which literally translates to winter solstice, basically.
Nice. I like it.
Which is a one of the most important festivals celebrated by the Chinese and members of the Chinese ethnic group, which is usually around December 22nd, which is more or less the winter solstice. So the origins of this festival can be traced back to the yin and yang philosophy of balance and harmony that exists in the cosmos. So after the celebration, there will be days with longer daylight periods and then an increase of positive energy flowing in. So the philosophical significance of this is symbolized by the Qing hexagram Fu, which literally means returning. So it is a returning of long days. Some celebrations that they do, they make, this is usually a time when your family gets together, and so they create a traditional dish called tangguan, which are balls of glutinous rice, which celebrate reunion, which tend to be sweet, and, you enjoy, rice wine and things like that. Other places they'll eat dumplings, and this has to do with a man named Zhang Zhongjing from the Zhang Zhongjing, from the Han Dynasty. So once again, I just wanted to pull this one out just because this is another festival that celebrates this kind of celebration of light, of a returning of a sort of, a longer days, things like that. And so there's not much about the Dongji Festival outside of the celebration of the sort of cosmic balance of going from long nights and short days to short days and longer days and short nights. Any questions about this one?
No, I mean, it makes sense. It kind of seems like if you need to farm for food, you start to celebrate when your days get longer so that, it's easier to make said food. I'm starting to see a trend.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easier to make said food. You're not spending as much to keep your house warm.
Right.
You're not spending as much to keep your house lit. A lot of times, like, you can start going outside again. Like, it's safe to go outside again.
True.
At least for extended periods of time. Like, yeah, it's just kind of nice to have, I don't know about you, but there's something about driving around a city at night and looking at all the very festive lights that kind of cheer you up a little bit, because it gets so dark so early around here.
Right? Crazy.
I know, right? All right, so the next one is one that our listeners are going to recognize, which is Hanukkah.
Yeah.
So
I know this one, sort of.
Yeah. So this is literally translated, or I mean, I don't know if it's literally translated, but it is a translation to the Festival of Lights. And so it is a 8-day celebration of people from the Jewish faith that celebrates an event that has a little bit of history behind it. So get ready, because here comes a history dump.
Knuckle cracks.
Crack. Okay, so one of the sort of through lines of the Old Testament is that the kingdom of Israel gets invaded a lot, and split up to various empires and things like that. So they had their kingdom for a while. Eventually, that kingdom was taken over by the Babylonians. So there was the period known as the Babylonian occupation. The Babylonians were taken over by the Persians. And then eventually it was split up into a couple of different regions. So one of the regions was called Judea, which technically belonged to the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt until about 200 BC, when King Anticles III the Great of Syria defeated King Ptolemy of Egypt, and then it became part of the kingdom of Syria. This is all important, I promise. And basically, what happens after this is during this period, it varies based on the account you're reading, but there was a group called the Tobiads who led a Hellenizing Jewish faction in Jerusalem. And so basically Hellenizing means make more Greek. So they started becoming a little bit more Greek. And basically, according to the one story, a group of Greek people took over and vandalized the Jewish temple.
What a bunch of dicks.
In fact, by one account, they put in a statue of Zeus. And they
boy.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the big one. So they put in a statue of Zeus, but there was a great flame that burned outside of the temple, that was supposed to sort of say, depending on the scholar you read, it was supposed to be like kind of like an eternal light, like the light of God and things like that.
Okay.
Depending on once again the sources you read, this flame was extinguished with pig blood.
Ew. And so, what?
Well, so
what a bunch of dicks.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing, Cody. Not only were they extinguishing it with blood, but they were extinguishing it with blood of an unclean animal in the eyes of the Jewish people.
Oh God. So that's like, oh geez Louise.
Yeah, it's like a double
right, that like sucks.
Double insult. So, there was a priest who is by the name of, give me a second, because like I said, there's lots of different interpretations of this story. His name was Judah Maccabee.
Okay.
And so Maccabee was kind of like his family's surname. He and his 5 sons lead a basically revolt. They are able to reclaim the temple, and they remove the statue of Zeus, and they are going to go and they're going to relight this this flame, right? So they clean it the way that you're supposed to. They cleanse it, and then basically they go into the temple and they realize that all of the oil in the temple rather has become unclean because of its connection to the Greeks. And so basically they have enough oil to last for one night. And they decide that they're going to relight it. It's going to take them about a week to create enough oil to like actually physically make oil to keep this lamp burning. That oil for one night lasts for 8 days. And
I see why 8 is important now.
Mm-hmm. And so this is deemed a miracle by the priests at the temple, because what was only supposed to be something to last one night lasts for all 8 days. So that is why the menorah is a well, it's technically a 9-pronged candelabra, but it is 4 on either side, and then one in the middle. So the central candle lights the other candles, And so celebrations of Hanukkah differ from place to place, but the candle needs to burn for at least half an hour after it gets dark. So usually you light them after sundown. And there is a saying that the reason that the Hanukkah light is not for lighting the house within, but rather for the illuminating of the house without, so that the passerbys should see it and be reminded of the holiday miracle. So it should be proudly displayed in like a window or in a door frame or something like that.
Cool.
So there are blessings that you say over the candle in Hebrew. So basically, it translates to, "Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah light, and who performed miracles for our ancestors in those days and times." And then another thing, and once again, there are many different Jewish belief systems. So you have Hasidic, you have conservative, you have Reform, various sort of groups of it who interpret it different ways. There are some who sing hymns that celebrate the various celebrations and achievements of God helping the Jewish people through hardships, including Egypt, Babylonian captivity, other celebrations like that. And then over time, it had also become a celebration of family. So usually you're given a small present every day, with the big present being given on the 8th day. There are also some celebratory foods that the Jewish people make during this time. So one of them is latkes, or potato pancakes. And then another one is basically these jam-filled donuts.
Yum.
That are called sufganiyot, which are basically, in these cases, they're both foods that are made by frying in oil to kind of celebrate the miracle of God keeping the oil burning.
Nice.
And then one last thing that comes out of this is, of course, the dreidel.
Yeah, I know the dreidel.
Yeah, so it's a little game that children play during Hanukkah. Each side is has a Hebrew letter for the basically it translates to "a great miracle happened there," referring to the oil that took place. And so there's a little game associated with it, which is basically the sides that it lands on. You have to follow what it says. So have you ever played the game Left, Right, Center?
I was just about to say that. Yeah, LCR.
Yeah, it's actually very similar, but instead of getting those little chips, you're playing for like little chocolate coins that are called gelt.
Ooh, yum. Chocolate.
Yeah. And so, it's like one is you don't do anything, one is you pass to the left, one is you pass to the right, and one is like you lose everything. So
yikes. I don't want to lose all my chocolate coins.
So, moving on to the next one. It is Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
So
I know the name. I know nothing else beyond this.
Yeah, this is actually something that I learned quite a lot about as well. I know that it is basically the thing I knew about it was that it was a celebration of the African diaspora that takes place roughly after usually starts the day after Christmas to about January 1st. So it's a festival that is designed to last 7 days. And it is a celebration to honor African heritage and African American culture, and was created by a gentleman named Maluna Karenga, which was first celebrated in 1966. So it's a relatively this celebration is a relatively new one, which takes cues from various African celebrations that exist in various countries in Africa. So it comes from the Swahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanza, which means first fruit of the harvest. And the choice of Swahili reflects its status as a symbol of Pan-Africanism, which was especially adopted in the 1960s. So that was the language chosen, despite the fact that most of the slave trade happened along the West Coast. But Kwanzaa is a celebration with its roots in the Black nationalist movement. There are celebrations. There's a southern solstice celebration in southern Africa, which is called First Fruit Festivals. And very similar to Hanukkah, it does have a menorah of sorts, although it is 3 red candles and 3 green candles, and in the middle there is a single black candle. And each day is supposed to celebrate a principle, which is Kawadi, which is the Swahili principle meaning common. So every day there is a new one. There is Umja, which is unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Self-determination, to define and name ourselves, as well as create and speak for ourselves. Collective works and responsibilities, to build and maintain our community together. Cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses. Purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Creativity, to do as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful. And faith, to believe with our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of the struggle. So some things that happen also along with this, it's a celebration of what are called Pan-African colors. So the reds, greens, and black colors, and a celebration of African history, candle lighting ritual, performances, and then it finally culminates in a feast. And the greeting for each day of Kwanzaa is Habari Gani, which is Swahili for how are you? So this day starts the day after Christmas, and it goes to the new year. As you know, once again, another solstice celebration that is based off of other African solstice celebrations. And then finally, and last but certainly not least, we do have Christmas. If you've not heard of Christmas, I'm sorry. But I mean, I feel like it's hard to escape these days. For better,
a
or
little
for worse.
bit, for at least for where we are.
Yeah, that's fair.
And on this side of
we are coming from this
planet.
from a very American, very
right.
So a couple of things. So obviously Christmas is it's a commemoration of the birth of Jesus Christ, which is celebrated on December 25th, which also happens to be the same day that there was a Roman celebration called Saturnalia, which is a similar solstice celebration. However, one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was there were people from the early Christian church who were debating on various reasons why they would have had why Christmas is celebrated the day it's celebrated. So for instance, an early Christian saint named Clement of Alexandria wrote, there are those who have determined not only the year of our Lord's birth, taking place on the 25th day of the Egyptian month Pachon, but basically there's a Christmas service by Augustine who says, hence it is he that was born on the day which is shortest in our earthly reckoning, and from which subsequent days begin to increase in length. He, therefore, who bent low and lifted up chose the shortest day, yet the one whence light begins to increase. So there is one of the things that you can see in history is that Christianity and Catholicism was very good at taking other people's like traditions and using them to help explain the concept of Jesus and Christianity. So a good example of this, I would say arguably the best example of this, is St. Patrick using the shamrock, which was, you know, a part of Celtic culture that he took and was like, hey, it's actually very similar to this concept that we have of Jesus. You know, it's 3 leaves, 3 parts, but it's still one plant. So Christmas is no different. Some people still call it Yule. There are still families out there who do Yule logs. The cutting down of an evergreen tree, as Cody mentioned, dates back to pagan practices where it was the only tree that was surviving in otherwise, you know, a dead time period. So there was something very powerful about that to pagan people, because it was something that survived during the cold and the winter. Similarly, holly was able to keep its color and keep its bright red berries. So that became important, and then eventually was brought over to Christmas as well. But once again, these all kind of come from one common theme, which is it is celebrations of a time when we start seeing the transition from winter back to spring and then ultimately into summer. So there you go. That is my brief overview of winter solstice and 5 celebrations that coincide with winter solstice.
Man, that's a lot to digest.
I know. This was actually a really fun and interesting episode for me to do research on.
Right.
Because I knew a lot. I knew about the Christmas stuff. I knew a lot about the Christmas stuff. I was curious to see just how many like winter solstice celebrations there were out there in the world.
Right.
There were too many for me. There are a lot. And once again, the one kind of commonality is this sort of changing of the times, this transition to a happier, brighter period. So
yeah. Well, I don't really have any questions per se.
Okay.
I mean, one, I thought you covered it, at least as far as my brain can handle. You covered it. Do you like Yule log?
I've never actually had a Yule log cake before.
Or a Yule log cake, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've never actually had one before.
Okay, neither have I, so I was curious.
I feel like it's a very British
those of you
thing.
out there, email, tweet us if you like Yule log cake, because I've never had it, so a brief description would be lovely.
Yeah, I know it's a rolled cake, so like a Swiss roll.
Okay, right. I mean, I love the Swiss rolls. Those little chocolate delights.
Little Debbie cakes, yeah.
From Old Debbie.
Oh, Debbie.
Oh, Debbie. You're so delicious.
Yeah. Those Christmas tree cakes you make at this time of year. I think that's Little Debbie, right?
I think so too. I don't know.
Body by Debbie.
Anyways.
So
you know what we should do?
What?
We should hop into the middle section real quick.
Okay. Okay, let's see here. Who's that walking down the street? It's Santa Claus, and what's he got? It's the middle section, and a twinkle in his eye. It's the middle section from a jolly guy. That was
right.
That was made up. I made that song up.
Man, I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
I no, I couldn't. It was so. Guys, this is the middle section.
Hey,
where,
what's up, guys?
We tell you about the things that. Or tell you about how you can reach out to us and get in on this conversation.
Jump on in there.
Tell us about, how you feel about the winter solstice holidays.
Yeah.
Yule log cakes, if you've ever had them.
Sure.
You're just your raunchiest fanfic of our garbage kids that we do almost weekly.
And
you could do all that
Yeah.
by reaching out to us on Twitter, which is fandomr_podcast. That's our handle.
Yep. That's a
Or
good handle, man.
you could email us at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com.
Ooh.
Or
awesome,
if you want to go down the rabbit hole, you really want to get in and figure out who we are as people, you can go to our website at www.fandomroulette.com, where you can find a little bio. You can find our episodes. You can find our social media links. And at the very bottom, there's a little area where you can fill out questions or comments or even concerns.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Too much Joe.
But you can send them to us. And we are also on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and where you normally get your podcast from. So be sure to rate, review, tell a friend. We do this as a passion project, so we greatly appreciate any and all help from our fans. We also have an Instagram and Tumblr. So, and Facebook.
Yep.
All Fandom Roulette. So yeah, that's it. That's my my little spiel on the middle section.
Yeah. Middle section time. It's done.
Okay.
All right.
So
So
last week, if you were here with us, we talked a little bit about the very huge lack of holiday, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah games in the video game spectrum. In fact, there's so few, I resulted in talking about James Cod, a platformer about a fish who's also a secret agent.
that was the best thing ever. Also, a Wii game where you sang it to the Wiimote.
Yeah. So, I did a little more digging, and while there aren't that many Christmas games, it's actually pretty common in online video gaming or games that mostly work online, so like MMORPGs like World of Warcraft,
Okay.
Guild Wars, those types of games.
Wow.
Or even games like Overwatch or Call of Duty.
Ooh.
A lot of those games that have an online player base, like a really active online player base, not typically with like your single player games, but there are a lot of like Christmas or holiday celebrations. I know Overwatch, for those who are playing that, I occasionally jump in and get my ass handed to me by everybody.
Yeah.
But every winter they release a couple new costumes that either show off, like, I think I have a couple of the, almost Christmas elf-like costumes. There's one for one of the characters who's a giant, like, talking gorilla with a laser gun.
Yeah.
They had a skin to turn him into, like, the abominable snowman. And you got a lot of that kind of stuff. And then a game that I continue to kind of fall in and out of love with, Destiny 2, is doing a whole thing to January 1st called The Dawning, which is this kind of gift-giving celebration where you go out and you collect ingredients to cook, like, in-game, like, cookies and all sorts of, like, weird, like, sci-fi, like, holiday traditional foods, and you give them to NPCs who will give you more loot. And it's actually really common to see these kind of online games have some flavor of, the holidays in them.
Uh-huh.
So while we might not see a whole lot of Christmas or holiday or, whatever you're celebrating in the wintertime, games,
official.
If you are an online gamer, I guess, I put that in quotations because I always thought the term gamer felt weird. There are a lot of those. Like, I'm playing through Destiny 2 right now, and it's actually kind of silly and fun that you get to go around and collect ingredients by, like, defeating enemies, and then you use that in, like, you basically get like a holiday oven, and you like have to put certain ingredients in to get the right gifts for certain people, and everyone has like a different gift, and it's really fun. Yeah. So if you're really jonesing for that holiday cheer, I recommend looking towards that online gaming scene. So
that sounds good.
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to do a little follow up. I know it's not like a whole section or anything, but
Sure.
I didn't want to leave people hanging with, there's just James Cod and rescuing Santa.
Yeah.
So, do you smell that?
It smells like eggnog has gone bad, which I might have found last week.
You know, it also smells like Santa's armpits after a long day at the gym.
Whoa.
Oh, gosh. Dude. Guys, it is the garbage kid.
Oh, my God. Oh, no. They invaded Christmas again.
Yeah, we did it again.
Not like this.
No, this is where almost every week, we switch off creating D&D characters, your RPG characters for your games, whether they're your NPCs or your story beats, what have you, or even if you want to play one of these characters, we build them using, the top scientists of the world and a book that I love very dear. It's very dear to my heart.
Yep.
Perfect Christmas gift or holiday gift.
Yeah.
Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Wait,
and I know what you're thinking, Joe. Everything.
Wow, that's a lot of things.
Right. And this week, I have concocted with my alchemical tools, my electric workbench, and a thunderstorm.
I'm getting chills.
I have created Ivy Holy Hunter.
That's
the
amazing.
Triton Warlock.
What, Triton?
Right, so...
Did you roll a hundo?
I did.
Oh.
So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, we roll on tables to create these characters, and one of the options is I get to pick what race they are. So I wanted to do a mer person. That's what a Triton is, basically. Half mermaid, half elf thing. I don't really know. But
they're like sexy mermaids.
Right. So this is a Triton Warlock.
Okay.
Ivy knows who their parents were.
Okay.
And was born at home.
Nice.
Ivy was the oldest of two.
Cool.
And was raised in an institution and lived a comfortable lifestyle in a large house.
That's nice.
Ivy became a warlock because they were wandering around in a forbidden place and encountered an otherworldly being that offered to enter a pact.
Okay. Hopefully it's not an evil one.
Each interaction with their capricious patron is a surprise, whether pleasant or painful.
Duh, there it goes, huh?
Ivy never wears the same outfit because their patron finds such predictability boring.
I could have fun with that.
One of Ivy's eyes matches their patron's eyes.
Ooh. Spooky.
Yeah, hopefully it's not the continuity error of Harry Potter.
Oh,
at least the movies.
Yep.
Ivy is 30 years old.
All right.
And has had 4 life experiences leading up to today.
Very nice, Ivy.
First, Ivy made a friend of an adventurer.
Nice.
Then, Ivy would spend a time working a job.
Okay, very good.
Ivy fell in love.
Aww.
And finally, Ivy suffered a terrible tragedy. A lover disappeared without a trace and has been looking for them ever since.
Oh no, there it is. Sounds like someone needs a My Chemical Romance bracelet to dull the pain.
Ooh, yes. So, that is Ivy Holy Hunter, the Triton Warlock.
Oh, I jumped ahead. Damn it.
Right?
Sorry.
So, for those of you just tuning in for the first time, we like to use our patent-pending rating system for our garbage kids.
Yep.
And the question we ask each other is, would this character go into Hot Topic And would they buy something?
I mean, 100% absolutely yes.
Oh, yes. Ivy is a frequent, he or she or they have a Hot Topic hole punch card.
Oh my god.
For every purchase.
What do you get on the 10th hole punch?
Well, see, they've also been collecting so many that they have like an entire ringlet of these hole punch cards. Yeah.
Man, one might say that Ivy would panic at the disco.
Or buy one of their shirts.
Either way. So anyways.
So that is the Garbage Kid. We're going to crinkle that up and throw it across the room.
Ooh, that's some rough Foley. Actual Foley would not approve.
Ooh. So, in lieu of having another RPG section focused on creating one-shots for the holidays, because we've already done that, we decided to go deep dive. If any of you are familiar with the first year of our podcast, sometimes we like to talk about a myriad of other nerdy topics that don't typically fall in line with the usual three. We like to call that the grab bag.
Yes.
And so we're going to ask the hard questions.
Oh, so hard. I'm so ready.
And we're going to talk about how we feel about these holiday themed questions. And I think the first one should be the one that I had planned last week, but we ran out of time.
Sure.
Is Die Hard a holiday movie?
Oh no.
I
mean, he does have a machine gun. Ho ho.
He does have a machine gun, which is very in line with the holidays.
So, I have a hot take.
All right.
And this take might alienate some of our viewers.
Sure. Okay. Go on.
So, I'm not saying don't do your thing. And if your thing is watching Die Hard at Christmas time because it's set at Christmas and he says that hilarious line, "Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho," and it's a Christmas party at the Yakatomi Plaza.
Classic.
Like that. I feel like Die Hard is a Christmas movie started off as a pretty funny joke that has become blown way out of proportion.
Okay.
Because it's like, you know what? It's like, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by like the schmaltz of Christmas, right?
Right.
You know, it's all this like warm, fuzzy stuff, and it's songs about little children like having a happy time and things like that. And so it's like, hey man, like, haha, this is a movie that's set at Christmas time where there's like blood and guts and action and such. So I would say no, it's not a Christmas movie.
Okay.
What's your take?
I think, personally, for some reason, I always like watching it when it snows. Like, there's something about just that setting that's like, when it snows, it's like sometimes I feel like I need to watch a little bit of...
Get your Die Hard on?
Yeah, get my Die Hard on.
Okay.
I think of it as a Christmas or a holiday movie as much as I think the concept of Rambo and Home Alone are holiday movies.
Interesting. Okay. I agree with you on one half of that.
Right, because I think they take place in that time, and I think, sure, that the glitz and glamour are there, but I don't necessarily think that they're holiday movies specifically.
Interesting. Okay.
Home Alone is the closest.
Yeah,
closest to that point.
I would
for
say
me.
I count Home Alone as a Christmas movie.
Okay.
I
think Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, great film, is a very specific Christmas movie.
Okay.
I think there's something about Home Alone,
sure,
the first one, that doesn't, for some reason, just doesn't feel Like it's on that same level of Die Hard. Like I don't think of Home Alone and go, or at least the first one, and like, man, this is my Christmas movie. Because like it's about two shithead burglars breaking into some poor people's, like, not poor people, but unfortunate homeowners, and their kid happens to be home, and he's saved by the creepy shovel man from down the street.
Fair enough. Maybe I'm getting one or two conflated in my mind.
And Home Alone 2, however, you know, he goes to New York. The whole thing is they were going to take a family Christmas trip to Hawaii, I believe, or Florida or something. One of those places. And then he gets caught up in the mix-up because, as per usual, this family is completely irresponsible.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest. They are super irresponsible for a child to get on a wrong plane to New York.
That is true.
Where he spends his time hanging out with some key figures, goes to like the toy shop, like the Christmas toy shop of New York, at least according to the movie. I can't confirm it. And gets to hang out with the homeless pigeon lady who shows him the spirit of Christmas.
Fair enough. All right. All right. I'll counter with one.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you consider Gremlins to be a Christmas movie?
See, you asked me this earlier, and I'm gonna say now I'm gonna be on the spot. I have not seen Gremlins in its entirety. I know I know the key beats. I know the core concept. There's these gremlins, these crazy little creatures, and they've got a big shit ton of rules to follow. And boy howdy, kids can't figure out how to follow lists, and chaos ensues.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where it's set at Christmas time.
Okay, yeah.
And like, there's a scene where they're in a bar, and I think the one starts singing a Christmas carol, and then of course there's everyone's favorite scene in a Christmas movie, where
right.
Phoebe Cates talks about how she found out Santa Claus wasn't real. Spoilers. Santa Claus, because her dad dressed up as Santa Claus and then died in the chimney. Merry Christmas, kids. Ho, ho, ho.
Man, that's, you know, a scene like that, I feel like can't be filmed in 2018.
Not at all.
Not even in the slightest.
If they rebooted that movie, that scene would be out so quick.
Oh yeah, that would be like the first. They're all at the board meeting, and they're like, "So, elephant in the room. We're not going to do the scene where the dad dies in the fireplace and ruins."
That scene, yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, totally understand.
Okay. Now I know you.
Another movie.
Yes, let's hear it.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
Is it a Christmas movie? Or holiday movie? I mean, in this case, very specifically a Christmas. It's in the title.
Yes.
You think so? Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I have some issues with that movie.
Okay. I mean, I do too, but go on.
So it strikes me that the ending is very like, hey, like, I like, it's like Jack got to be CEO for a day, and now he gets to put a picture on his desk of him sitting in the CEO's chair, and he goes back to his like boring middle management job. It's like very stay in your lane, Skellington, you know?
You know what? That was what I was thinking when I had put this title on. It's like, wow, now that I'm thinking about the synopsis of this movie, this feels very much like, hey, Jack Skellington, I know you really like this new concept that you've learned of Christmas, where you give gifts and, you know, there's a sleigh and some reindeer and shit. But can you stay in your lane?
Yeah, like, hey,
like, that's what it feels like, and I don't like that.
Like,
I mean, as a kid, I didn't understand that concept, but I think even as a kid, there was something kind of funny about what. So he just goes back to Halloween and forgets that he had a big hard on for Christmas. Like, what?
I mean, I think I think it works both as a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie.
Right. I mean, I think it fits better in the Halloween spectrum since most of the movie does take place in their, the spooky, scary Halloween town. But yeah, I could see it also transitioning to the holidays.
Yeah, I also I love the song "Making Christmas" because it feels very much like a Christmas Carol, but like written by
sinister.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I love it. It's so good. Okay, question.
Go on.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cody.
How do you feel about holiday merchandise before Halloween?
So,
like in real life.
Yeah. I just so here's my two-pronged take.
Okay.
Prong the first.
Okay.
I am okay with it in craft stores.
Okay.
Because as I was thinking about it, and as I was working for it, we have like Etsy and stuff now, right? And
right.
You have like during like the month leading up to Christmas, you have all of those like little craft shows that pop up here and there and things like that. Crafters need to get their supplies early so they can have product to sell at the holidays.
Sure. Yeah.
So like when I go into like a Pack of Tans, for instance, that's a local craft supply store around here, and I see Christmas stuff, I really don't care. Sometimes it's a little frustrating when I go into like a Target or a Kohl's and I see it because I really like Thanksgiving. I feel like Thanksgiving has just become a totally like passed over holiday now.
Oh, for sure. It definitely gets the hard glance and then move on.
And I get it. It's like it's not as much fun to decorate. It's become even more troublesome to decorate as we start reanalyzing and recontextualizing American history.
Sure. Yeah. I understand.
But I like it. I think it's a fun holiday. I have a joke that it's all the fun of Christmas with none of the pressure of gift giving, and I stand by it. So yeah.
I like that.
What about you? What do you think?
Okay, so some background knowledge. I'm gonna throw some history. I used to work retail.
Okay.
Before before I finished school and all that.
Sure.
And it's funny how, or at least when I started doing like stocking and retail, how early that shit gets in. Like months, like literal months. Mm-hmm. It just sits in like a dark corner, like the eerie holiday corner, where you just see it and you're like, why is it here? Like, but they do it months and months in advance. My gripe with the concept isn't necessarily that there's holiday stuff like out. I feel like you get bombarded with a lot of this, like, buy gifts. If you don't buy a gift, you're an asshole. And like just all this like giving gifts, and everybody does it. And it's just like gift. It's very artificial, and it really doesn't serve the standard kind of ideas behind these winter solstice holidays.
Uh-huh.
Where it's like, it's getting together and, sure, maybe you have a couple, you sling back a couple beers and you enjoy, the company of family and friends or whatever.
Sure.
But like, it feels very, patronizing when you have commercials left and right and you have all of these different stores that are just like, buy shit so that you can give them to somebody so you don't feel weirdly obligated later or something. Like, it doesn't feel real.
Can I tell you, there's always this moment that I dread,
right?
Which is when a person gives you a gift and you don't have one ready to go.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's literal anxiety for me. Like I got a gift last year, and like my heart sank because I thought we were in like a non-spoken agreement to not give each other gifts.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, fuck. And I had no money. Like, I was broke.
Sure.
So, like, it wasn't like I could go out to, Best Buy or whatever and get something real quick. I was just like, well, shit. And then, of course, you forget.
Mm-hmm.
And then that dread comes back when you're like, oh, no, I never got them anything for the holidays. Fuck. So, yes, no, I totally get that anxiety on a very real level.
Okay, I have a question for you now.
Yes.
Okay, so you worked in retail at the holiday season. I've worked in restaurants at the holiday season.
Yes.
What is your least favorite Christmas song?
Whoa, that's rough, especially with all the stuff in the news about.
Let's just exclude that one.
Oh, okay.
Let's pretend that song doesn't exist.
Okay. Shit.
My answer is Santa Baby. I don't like the
I was caught between Santa Baby, Daddy or Mommy Kissing Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm. Similar energy.
Yeah, there's definitely some. I feel like actually, I'm not going to take credit for this, but I think Santa Baby is the prequel to Mama Kissing Santa Claus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm going to say Santa Baby and Little Drummer Boy. Those play so often at around this time, whether I'm with family or just out.
Sure.
That I'm like, I don't like. There's nothing you can do to Santa Baby to change the formula.
Exactly.
It has been reworked, redone way too many times, and I think that's the problem with. People probably assume I'm a Grinch, but most Christmas songs have been, or even holiday songs in general, have just been so overdone because no one can think of a new one. That I'm just like, what's the point? I've heard these all before. Like, I feel like if, all of the classic singers from every generation have sung these songs to the point where I'm like, I mean, like, what the fuck's, like, Kanye gonna do to Santa Baby? Like,
has Kanye done Santa Baby?
I don't think so, but I'd actually be semi-curious to find out what that sounds like.
Fascinating.
I
know that Michael Bublé recorded a version of Santa Baby that has gay panic. So
okay,
yeah.
I mean, wait, what?
Because like you know how she like asks for like a little hot convertible like pink or whatever.
Right,
right. For one that's like steel blue, and it's like Santa, we're like just friends. I'm like, then hey, don't do a cover of the song, Michael Bublé.
Yeah, maybe if you're a little concerned that you and Santa are getting too deep, you probably shouldn't call him Santa Baby.
I think it might have been Santa Buddy, which is like...
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
panic.
then why don't you just pick a different song?
Yeah, just don't even do that one. Like,
just sing, make a new song called Santa Buddy.
Yeah.
Don't even use the same, like, lines. Yeah.
Okay, and then
shit.
And on a positive note...
Right. That one always gets a little weird,
What is your favorite Christmas movie?
Favorite Christmas movie?
Yep.
And now, does it... This one's tough. For a long time... Like when I was but a mere child, it was but a wee lad. It was Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Okay, cool.
Just like it was weird because like as a kid I couldn't like the idea of separating sequels or trilogies just wasn't a thing. Like it was just all like Star Wars. When I first watched Star Wars, it wasn't A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and The Last Jedi. It was just Star Wars, and you had to watch all three.
Sure, I get it.
So for me, it was Home Alone. Nowadays, I don't really have like a favorite, but I have very fond memories of Home Alone.
Sounds good.
What about you?
Mine is Muppet Christmas Carol.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
It is.
I also really like that one.
It always puts me in the spirit when I watch it.
I think we burned out the VCR or the tape because of how many times we did that to a lot of VCR like tape movies.
Yeah,
which is a weird concept.
I literally like just watched it with my family yesterday. Like it's part of our Christmas tradition. So
nice, love it.
And then, do you have any weird family traditions for Christmas?
Weird family traditions.
Maybe you don't. It's
not necessarily a weird tradition, but my family, my close family, so like my mother, my father, and my sister.
Sure.
My mother always wants to put a new tradition on, like we're building a Lego set.
Okay.
But we always forget what the last year was.
That's hilarious. I love that.
So we just kind of like keep doing new things, but I'm sure we've done them a million times, but like none of us can remember.
So your tradition is constantly new traditions.
Right, is constantly trying to add like one new thing to the formula. Because, we give gifts and we spend, we get together on a day and we usually go and see extended family on a weekend.
Nice.
But then we always try to add that one thing.
Sure. I like that.
I, for the life of me, never remember which one it is.
Fair enough.
What is your family's weird tradition?
My family is Slovak.
Okay.
At least a little bit. And historically speaking, if you were Slovak and Catholic, you didn't eat meat the night before Christmas.
Okay.
So in the month of December, while most all other families are making like Christmas cookies and things like that, my sister and I make about 300 Christmas pierogi.
Wow, that sounds delicious and like so much.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. They're super easy to make, and we sometimes get a little carried away, but it's our special thing. It's our family's special little thing. As a little kid, eating mushroom soup and pierogies and other weird Slovak things wasn't the most exciting thing, but now it's cool because it's like a neat little connection to my family's past. So
nice, yeah. Nice.
Should we wrap her up?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you guys so much for listening to this this kind of non-traditional episode of Fam Roulette, but I had quite a lot of fun recording it.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Next week is going to be yet another kind of non-traditional. God, we won't even have like the same setup. It's gonna be,
not even close. This will be a fun one for sure.
I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a fun episode. So yeah, please feel free to go back to the middle section, to get our social media information and things like that. As we're moving into the new year, I want to try out a new thing just to see like, who's listening and who's engaging and stuff. Either feel free to tweet at us or email us either your favorite Christmas movie or your favorite family holiday tradition. And if we get a lot of them, or if we even get a few of them, maybe we can read a couple of our favorites on the podcast next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so feel free to go back to the middle section. Thank you so much for listening. As always, this has been a lot of fun. And signing off for Fam Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.